Shalom, Israel, Yahweh, Bashim, Yahshua, Barakatham, and all the brothers. Shalom, Yahweh, Shemal, Latham, Bashim, Yahshua, all the sisters. It's the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge. Start out at 1 West 125th Street, Harlem, New York, under commanding General Yohana. This is the Tuesday night Brotherhood class. We teach blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans true brotherhood amongst one another, man. And tonight, we're going to go into a very necessary topic that has to be touched on. I know brothers and sisters right now is getting ready or preparing for the celebration of Thanksgiving, which is an evil and it's just a downright evil thing for blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans to be celebrating amongst one another. And we celebrate it under the guise of family. The crazy thing about it is celebrating Thanksgiving is one of the most unbrotherly things that you can do as a black man or Hispanic man or Native American, especially as a Native American man. But blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, that is one of the most unbrotherly things that you can do because, the Native Americans, are our brothers, are our sisters, are our sons and daughters, are our ancestors. And it's so crazy, and what makes it so evil is you ask blacks or black people, so-called Native Americans, about their culture, about what their heritage, their identity, their ancestry. They're going to tell you, oh, I'm this % Native American. I got this type of Native American. I got Blackfoot. I got Cherokee. I got Seminole. I got, I got all these different Native American blood, and which we do, which we do have Native American blood in us because we're just, we're one people. But, what makes it so evil is that blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans wear it so strong all throughout the year, except for designated days out of the year that your oppressor designates. And one of the biggest ones, or the biggest one, Salakia, is Thanksgiving, where you're this person, you so proud of your Native American heritage and you so proud of your people, up until Thanksgiving, when that turkey is on the line, when that baked macaroni and cheese and them collard greens with the ham hock in it is all on the line, or the smoked turkey leg, is all on the line, them yams and all of that. I know it sounds delicious, but as soon as that's on the line, that's what makes it so evil, because as soon as you put food on the line, then it's like, well, it's just for my family. It's for my family. And you know what's so evil about that? And why this class is so necessary to warn blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans not to celebrate Thanksgiving is what we've done is taken on the spirit of our oppressor. And let me show you in the Bible, because this ain't, what we got to understand is we teach blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans the truth according to the Bible. And our downfall with the scriptures is that we somehow think that these scriptures don't apply to us because of the indoctrination of our oppressor through Christianity and Catholicism. And we think that these scriptures don't apply to us. But what we got to understand is not only do these scriptures apply to us, but they're only about blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. And the mistakes that were made in this Bible, in these holy records, these separate records, are the same mistakes and the same, atrocities that we committed in the past, and the same reasons why we're in the condition that we in today. So like the scriptures say, things written aforetime are written for our learning. So the patience and faith through the scriptures, we might have hope. The whole point of these scriptures is so that we can read these records, see the mistakes that we've made in the past to get us in these conditions, see the triumphs that we've made to have the Lord with us, so that we might have hope, man, so that the Lord could be with us again. Let's get book of John, chapter 8, verse 44. And this is what's so important to understand about you Black, Hispanic, and Native Americans who still decide to choose to celebrate Thanksgiving, even though you know that it's about, you know what I'm saying, the lives of millions of Blacks, Hispanics, and or of Native Americans being taken in this diabolical land we call America. All right. This is the book of John, chapter 8, verse 44. Ye are of your father the devil, and the lust of your father ye will do. See, in the scripture, Christ is chastising black men, just like us, just like the brothers in the ISUPK chastise, you know what I'm saying, just like we've been chastised as Black, Hispanics, and Native Americans. Just as, you know what I'm saying, this is Christ chastising us and correcting us. When he says, ye are of your father the devil means deceiver, man. The biggest deceiver, the number one deceiver right now, and then in that exact time where Christ was talking to black men, was the same oppressor that's the devil, the number one deceiver today, which is the so-called Romans, the so-called Grecians, the so-called French, the so-called Spaniards, the so-called Greek or Slovakia, the so-called Germans, you know what I'm saying, Russians. All of these different nations who come from Europe, you know what I'm saying, the so-called European. That is the number one deceiver in this earth. And it's the same number one deceiver that Christ is talking about in John chapter 8. It says, ye are of your father the devil. So if the devil is the number one deceiver, then, and the number one deceiver is the European, then your father is the European. You know why? Because just like like we like to call the oppressor a culture vulture, you know what I mean? Which is rightfully so. Because what do? They take our, you know what I'm saying? They take our culture. They beat our culture up out of us. They make us forget our culture, like it says in Psalms 83. They make us forget our nation and forget our nationality. And then after we've forgotten, after they tell us that our skin tone is bad, is that after they tell us that our dialect, how we speak, is barbaric, after they tell us our slang is bad, how they tell us how we walk and how we talk is bad, how they tell us our kinky hair, our woolly hair is bad, our women's shape, you know what I'm saying, is bad. Once we put down our culture, your oppressor picks up our culture. So what does that say about us? How does that relate to Thanksgiving? Well, as a Black, Hispanic, and Native, or as a Black man, as a Hispanic man, and Native American man, if you're claiming all year that you have this, that, and the third amount of Native American in your blood, but then on this one day out of the year, you bust your tail to celebrate Thanksgiving, knowing that it was about the mass unaliving of Native Americans, you're just like your oppressor. You are of your father the devil, man, because that is their MO. That is what they do. They take your culture, they wear it all throughout the year. They wear your culture, and then every year they celebrate Thanksgiving. Every year they celebrate their victories. They kink their hair on purpose and braid their hair on purpose, and they get lip injections and hip injections, and they put a limp in their walk and put an accent, you know what I'm saying, put a little slang and a little drawl on their language on purpose. You know what I mean? They rap like us and try to sing like us and try to dance like us on purpose, trying to emulate our culture all throughout the year. But then they take that back to their culture. They never forget their culture. And that's what we've done as Black people, Hispanics, and Native Americans, man. That's what we've done. We put on Native American culture all throughout the year. You know what I'm saying? We don't like to say we just Black. You know what I'm saying? We like to say we like to get our ancestry, our what's that called, 23andMe and all of that. We like to get all of that done. You know what I'm saying? These blood tests and all of that. We like to see our hair and how it's curly or how it's straight. We got long hair, naturally thick and growing hair, and we like to attribute that to our Native American brothers, which is not wrong. It's, you know what I'm saying? Because those are actually our brothers, and that's what we got to understand, Black people. Those are actually our brothers. But what makes it wicked is that we pay tribute and pay homage to the Native Americans, the indigenous to America, and then on the third Thursday of November, we betray them without even considering the level of betrayal that we are showing to our brothers. You know what I'm saying? And then right after we get done eating that turkey and that ham and all of that nasty, abominable food, you know what I'm saying? We move on like nothing happened. Like we don't even consider our brothers, you know what I'm saying, on those reservations. And you know what I'm saying, starving and all the things that they go through. We don't even consider, you know what I'm saying, you say that you X amount of percent of Native American, but you don't even consider the atrocities that your ancestors went through. You know what I'm saying, whether you black or Hispanic or Native American. Like we don't even consider how we're offending our Native American brothers. Let's go ahead and read on. And the lust of your father ye will do. So your oppressor will celebrate Thanksgiving every single year, which they're right to do. You know what I'm saying? Because that holiday belongs to them. And that's about their victory, how they overcame us, because we were, you know what I'm saying, because the Lord wasn't with us, because we wasn't with the Lord. We wasn't following the Lord's instructions. We weren't doing what the Lord said to do. So they're, you know what I'm saying, they was able to overcome us. You know what I'm saying? That was tragic for us, but that was great for them. So we can go ahead and let them have that. But that has nothing to do, you know what I'm saying? That's not for us. But the lust of our father, who is the number one deceiver on this earth, our oppressor, the lust of our oppressor we will do. We do his lust, you know what I'm saying? We are the number one supporters of Thanksgiving. Even though we were the number one people whose lives were taken during the first and second and third and fourth and fifth and so on Thanksgiving. You know what I'm saying? Because what you don't understand about Thanksgiving, we're going to get into a little bit of the history of it. But what you don't understand about Thanksgiving is every time they slaughtered us and conquered us and took our, you know what I'm saying, every time they overcame us, they had a feast. You know what I'm saying? So they was having feasts. They was having what you call, you know what I'm saying, you think you was taught Thanksgiving was just a feast about, you know what I'm saying, how the Native Americans and your oppressor came together and celebrated unity and love and being thankful and all of that. And whole time they overtook, you know what I'm saying, they took our kindness and they took it for weakness and overtook us and unalived us by the thousands, by the millions, you know what I'm saying? And then every time they conquered a tribe or a area or a zone or whatever, you know what I'm saying, they had a Thanksgiving. That was the ritual. And we're going to get into it a little bit. That's what makes it so diabolical, man. That's what makes it so diabolical. And what you don't understand is you know what I'm saying, you probably heard the quote, the victors or the victors are who writes history. You know what I mean? So whoever wins the war, you know what I'm saying, whoever wins the battle, whoever is the dominant aggressor or, you know what I'm saying, the mass unaliver in the situation, they get to write the narrative. And how do you know that? It's very practical. It's very practical. You know that because what are they doing now? What are they doing today to your history, black man, Hispanic man, Native American man? You know what I'm saying? Right now, they trying to write, you know what I'm saying, so-called Hispanics as lazy and super predators when your oppressor, the so-called European, is the biggest predator on this earth. And the so-called Hispanics are the most hardworking people as prophesied in the Bible that you can ever come in contact with. So for them to call our people lazy, you know what I'm saying, Hispanic brothers and sisters lazy and super predators is absolutely untrue. But you know why that narrative is able to spread throughout the earth? Because the victors write the narrative. You know what I'm saying? Whoever is the most bloody, whoever is takes the most lives and is deemed, you know what I'm saying, victorious in that aspect, they get to write the narrative. They get to depict how you were and how they were. They get to depict themselves as the hero and yourself as the villain. Look at the so-called black man. If you grew up in the late 90s to the early 2000s, you was going through school learning about you know what I'm saying, the transatlantic trade, slave trade and all of that, but then you learned about Martin Luther King and how or you learned about Abraham Lincoln and how he freed the slaves. So we got to kiss his behind and thank him so much because he just such a great white man. And then after that, we learn about Martin Luther King every single year. And we learn how he had a dream that one day that all, you know what I'm saying, nations could just hold hands and love and forgive and forget about the past. And that's the narrative that we believe. Like, unless you're in the truth, you know what I'm saying, unless you're in the ISUPK, the commanding general Yohana, that's the narrative that you believe, that we all just supposed to be this, you know what I'm saying, unified and all nations love and interracially married. And, you know what I'm saying, you take on all your oppressors' ideals. That's what you were taught. But your story is far more bloody than that. And, you know what I'm saying, take it a step further, you know what I'm saying, you learn that if you grew up in the, I'm not sure, you know what I'm saying, I can't really speak to before the 90s, you know what I'm saying, because I wasn't born before then, but who knows what their school system was teaching them, you know what I'm saying, about their history. You know what I'm saying? They were living through some atrocious times as we do today. You know what I'm saying? So you were learning that from the late 90s to the early 2000s. If you were born in the early 2000s, you know what I'm saying, from the early 2000s to, you know what I'm saying, present day, now, you know what I'm saying, we just saw that in Florida, they passed in a law that that abolishes, you know what I'm saying, the teaching of the transatlantic slave trade. You know what I'm saying? You start to see it. I started to see it, you know what I'm saying, in the early 2000 or like 2015, you know what I'm saying, 2015. You know what I mean? They start showing that, or they start trying to convince our brothers and sisters that instead of a transatlantic slave trade, it was a transatlantic migration, meaning that we wanted to come over here. We were willing to come over here on our own conviction, and there was no, you know what I'm saying, abuse or unaliving or genocide that was involved in that. That's what they was trying to push, you know what I'm saying, at the beginning of the, you know what I'm saying, of like after 2010, 2020. You know what I'm saying? That's what they started to push then. You know what I'm saying? So the point is, the victors are able to rewrite history. And you can tell by how they rewrite your history today. Now, fast forward to 2023. Now they're saying that they're not allowed to even teach about the transatlantic slave trade. They're not even allowed to teach about slavery. Not because it didn't happen. Not because it was untrue or because they felt like it was so wrong. They told you that you couldn't teach about slavery because of the shame that, you know what I'm saying, your oppressor might feel for hearing the diabolical things that they did to so-called Native America or to so-called Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. That's the whole point. That's the whole point, man. So what you got to understand is that if they're still doing that today, what do you think they did to your history? What do they think? What do you think that they taught you about Christopher Columbus? What do you think about that? You think that might have been falsified as well? What do you think about what they taught you about the first Thanksgiving? Because they thought, you know what I'm saying, they taught you about, you know what I'm saying, the Native Americans coming together and with you know what I'm saying, so-called white people. And then they just having this big meal and coming together and just agreeing to love and care for one another. But look at the Native Americans now. So that was, whole point is, that was an obvious lie, and we're going to get into it tonight, man. We're going to get a couple articles. As a matter of fact, let's finish this scripture. This is the rest of John chapter 8, verse 44. Year of your father the devil, man, and the lust of your father ye will do. He was a murderer from the beginning. So that is the lust of your father. So you eating that turkey and that ham and that cranberry sauce. I know it sounds innocent to you. You know what I'm saying? It's just potatoes. It's just baked macaroni. It's just baked macaroni and yams and collard greens. What's the big deal? Well, that was that whole ideal. The reason why you feel like you got to celebrate that or cook all of that and break your back and spend money that you don't have on that day is because of the unalizing that your oppressor did. And you lust over that turkey, that turkey that your auntie makes sure is just nice and dry every year. You know what I mean? That nasty ham and that all of that food. You know what I'm saying? You lust over that, man. Why? Because you're a slave. And that's you know what I'm saying? I don't say that in, you know what I'm saying, trying to beat down my brothers and sisters. I say that out of brotherhood. This is the brotherhood class. But I have to tell you, black man, Hispanic man, Native American man, if you are lusting after that ham and turkey and all of that and them sides, and I know it sounds just so delicious, but the reason why you feel the need to only do that on that day is because you're a slave. Because you know what happened to the Native Americans. Like, what is the ubiquitous quote that your people will tell you? Say you do come into the, because some brothers, you know what I'm saying, some brothers got the zeal of the Lord despite not having the knowledge. They'll have the zeal of the Lord and be like, look, I'm not celebrating Thanksgiving. Look, you can have that ham hock and all of that. You can have it. I'm not eating nothing on the third Thursday of November. Or you might question your elders, like, why do we celebrate this? You know what I'm saying? Why do we celebrate Thanksgiving every year, even though we know that it's tied to mass unaliving? And you know what the ubiquitous answer that you're gonna get from anybody you ask that question? You know what I'm saying? If you got an answer, go ahead and put it in the chat. Read my mind, cause I know you know. I know you know what your brothers and sisters is going to tell you. I know what your aunties and uncles are going to tell you and have told you. So go ahead and read my mind. Right? Well, you tell them, like, look, why do we do this? Don't you know that the Native Americans were slaughtered on this day? Don't you know that the so-called, you know what I'm saying, your oppressor came over here and did this, that, and the third, and you get to running down the history and you get the running it down. What are they gonna tell you? This is what they're gonna tell you. This is going to be the never failed answer that your brother, your sister, your auntie, your uncle, your cousins is gonna tell you. I know, man. I know nephew. I know cousin. I know son. I know daughter. I know that was just terrible. But we just do it for what? For what? The same reason why you celebrate Christmas, even though you know no damn fat white man ain't coming down no chimney that you don't even damn have. Even though it's the same reason why you celebrate, you just got done celebrating Halloween. It's the same reason why you dress your kids, you teach your kids about stranger danger all year round, but then on that 1 year, you dress them up as some monster and send them to a stranger's house and beg for candy. It's the same reason. It's the same reason you're going to celebrate 4th of July. Same reason why you're going to barbecue on Memorial Day. The same reason why next year, you're going to be right back at it. You know what I'm saying? If the Lord doesn't destroy this place with thermonuclear warfare, you know what I'm saying? You're going to be right back at it with the candy and the turkey and the holly jolly. You know what I'm saying? It's the same reason. Nobody got an answer? No sweat. The reason is it's for family. It's for the children. That's the reason. You're gonna blame celebrating Thanksgiving on the children and on family. It's just about family. For us, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Everybody gotta, you know what I'm saying? We as black people, we always gotta remix everything. We'll take something disgusting and we think it's so beautiful. In some cases it can be beautiful. Or we take something so disgusting and so vile, you know what I'm saying, that you know what I'm saying, a very vile situation and turn it into something beautiful. But at the end of the day, we should recognize that that vile thing should have never even happened to us. And the people who did that vile thing to us was wrong. But that's what we'll do. We'll take that vile thing and like, yeah, I know 99 million Native Americans, if not more. I think I'm wrong on that number. I think it's closer to like 100 and like 30 something million Native Americans was unalived during that whole, you know what I'm saying, the so-called discovery of America. You know what I'm saying? That cost 133 plus million lives of our Native American brothers and sisters. So we like, yeah, I know that diabolical thing happened on this day, and this is what they rooted in. This is what our oppressor roots it in. But for us, it's just family. It's just family. It's a day I get off of work and we could just come together and blah, 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 and have good food and you know what I'm saying, and exchange gifts and, you know what I'm saying, sing holly jolly, and we can get some candy and all of those things. Why do you feel the need to celebrate? Why can't you have a meal? Why can't you plan a day for your family to get together for a meal any other day? That's another question. Baba Kashab, please. You know what I'm saying? Go ahead, put it in the chat. Explain to me why we can't do this on another day. Why we couldn't, you know what I'm saying? Why we couldn't get together with that cousin that you hate, that auntie that you hate, you know what I'm saying, that mama, that father you don't talk to, you know what I'm saying? Why can't you get together and, you know what I'm saying, mend the family? Why couldn't you do that last month? Why couldn't you do that the month before that? Why couldn't you do that the year before that? On any day? You know what I'm saying? In regards to Christmas, why can't you buy your kids the thing that you need or the thing that they want, you know what I'm saying, if they deserve it? Why couldn't you do that on any other day? You know what I'm saying? Birthdays, Valentine's Day. Why couldn't you give the person that you love a gift because you was thinking about them on any other day? Why couldn't you do that? Let me know when y'all got an answer. Go ahead, put it in the chat. We should really have this conversation. You know what I'm saying? We're not here to just, you know what I'm saying, blaze on our brothers and sisters. We're here to, you know what I'm saying, we're here to pull the, you know what I'm saying, just pull the Christianity, you know what I'm saying, pull the slavery out of our minds and off of our eyes and off of our culture. You know what I'm saying? So this is a conversation that we need to have. You know what I'm saying? If you got an answer, put it in the chat. But here's the answer. Here's the real answer. Here's the bottom line. And here's the tough pill to swallow. Is because we're slaves. For you to take a holiday, slavery is, you know what I'm saying, it's forced obedience. That's what slavery is in a nutshell. And you know what I'm saying, as simple as I can put it, it's just forced obedience. You know what I mean? From one nation to another. Now, we're not European. We're not, you know what I'm saying, African. We're not all these other cultures. We're not French, Italian. We're not Romans. We're not any of them. But they put it on their calendar and they say, all right, the third Thursday of November, we celebrating Thanksgiving. That's what we doing. And the only time I'm going to give you off every year guaranteed is on Thanksgiving. Is on Christmas, is on this, that, and the third day, whatever the case, pick your holiday. The reason why we as Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans indulge in the celebration of all these pagan holidays, particularly Thanksgiving, is because we're slaves. Because we're slaves and we're obedient to our oppressor. You know what I'm saying? Let's get a little more. And the lust of our father we will do. And he was a murderer from the beginning. So even though that holiday is rooted in unaliving of Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, we're going to celebrate it anyway. Because that's the only time we get off. And that's the only time family's going to, it's like, that's a lie. That's a lie that you learned in slavery. But if you really were a family, you could get together at any time and celebrate You know what I'm saying? Anything that you can celebrate what pertains to blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, man. But we have taken on the culture and the identity of our oppressor. But what we're going to do in the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge, we're going to teach you the truth. You know what I'm saying? We're going to get a little bit of this history. All right. Let's see what we got. Got this article. So, right. So we, you know what I'm saying? We was taught, I don't know if y'all could see that, but we was taught, that, you know what I'm saying? Salakia. We was taught that what Christopher Columbus came over to do in 1492 was to discover America. Now, that's the most obvious lie because that contradicts Thanksgiving. That's a very obvious lie, right? For you to say that Christopher Columbus discovered a new world called America, but there was indigenous people here who greeted them, and you know what I'm saying, fast forward to Thanksgiving, we greeted them with a feast and all of that. It don't make sense. It's an obvious contradiction. And it's a contradiction that we joke about today. Like you hear it in comedians and all of that. We joke about it even amongst ourselves. You know what I'm saying? We joke about it. But it's the truth, though. Like, it's the truth. And it's sad that we still, not only do we joke about it, but we still keep these feast days or these holidays that your oppressor tells you to keep. And it's just such a sad thing. And we're going to talk about how sad it really is. So the truth about Christopher Columbus, obviously, is that he didn't discover America. But if you go a layer deeper, you know what I'm saying? Christopher Columbus not only didn't discover America, but he came over with intention to destroy the so-called Native Americans, the indigenous to America, which is our people, blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. Right? Well, he came over with that intention. All right. So this is just some Christopher Columbus facts, right? You know what I'm saying? Some little known facts about, you know what I'm saying, about Christopher Columbus. All right. And it says he has struck a lucrative deal with the Spanish. All right. Now, what you don't understand about, like what we talked about earlier, Christopher Columbus, he had an agenda when he came over here. Not only did he come over to a land that was already inhabited, but he already knew it was inhabited. Right. And you know that, you know what I'm saying? I don't want to spend too much time on this because, I don't want to spend too much time on this because I want to get into the history of Thanksgiving. This is a couple hundred years before, you know what I'm saying, what you're seeing on the screen. This is a couple hundred years before the first so-called Thanksgiving. All right. So 1492, Christopher Columbus. All right. He came over with an agenda, and when he came over, he took a linguist with him named Luis de Torres. That was his name, Luis de Torres. All right. And he was fluent in the Lashawan Kodash, the Hebrew. You know what I'm saying? So he could read and write and interpret and understand Hebrew. Why do you think Christopher Columbus, who discovered a new world, why would he bring a linguist who was efficient in Hebrew? Because he knew that there was a Hebrew-speaking people, you know what I'm saying, our people, right, over here. We were the indigenous, you know what I'm saying, we were speaking Hebrew. The so-called Native Americans were speaking Hebrew. And he brought Luis de Torres over to be able to communicate in between the so-called Europeans and the so-called Native Americans. All right. It says Columbus stood to gain significant wealth and power from his voyage. Terms he negotiated with King Ferdinand II and Queen Isabella of Spain. His contract with the monarchs, called the Capitulations of Santa Fe, named Columbus the admiral, viceroy, and governor of any land he discovered. Ain't that interesting? So they gave him great power and admiration and authority over any land that he discovered. So now does it make sense why he said that he discovered the Americas? Because if he had discovered it, then he had already struck a deal back in Spain that if whatever he discovered, then he was going to have power and authority over. So that's what you got to understand, black man. That's what you got to understand. Christopher Columbus ain't, you know what I'm saying? No damn European that came over and discovered anything, you know what I'm saying, came over and claimed they discovered anything. They didn't discover jack. And that's what's so heavy. Like, and we going to read a little bit more, but the lands that, you know what I'm saying, Christopher Columbus came over, he started a trend. You know what I'm saying? He came over and started to discover things, right? Discover land and start getting authority and power, right? As, you know what I'm saying, or for sake of getting that power and authority and, you know what I'm saying, these riches, right? That started a trend. Like, okay, other explorers, you know what I'm saying, wanted to get their little piece of the pie, so to speak. So they start, you know what I'm saying, that's how you got, you know what I'm saying, the Caribbean islands and Haiti, which we're going to talk about with Christopher Columbus. That's how you get, you know what I'm saying, various parts of North, Central, and South America being so-called discovered. You know what I'm saying? Because this is a deal that was already, you know what I'm saying, this was a deal that was already stricken in Europe without even involving the so-called indigenous. And that should let you know something about their treaties as well. Let's go ahead and keep reading. It also stated that Columbus could keep 10% of any merchandise, right? Whether pearls, precious stones, gold, silver, spices, and other objects that he acquired, right? And it's so heavy within the new territory. And it's so heavy that they're choosing to use that language, and these quotation marks are cleverly placed, because you know what those objects were that he acquired and that merchandise? Not only was it our, you know what I'm saying, our riches, our pearls, our precious stones, gold, silver, spices, resources, all of that, our land, but we were those objects. We were those objects that he acquired. We was that merchandise. They made merchandise of us. You know what I'm saying? They sold our young. They sold our, you know what I'm saying, our women, you know what I'm saying, for wine, right? Like it says in Deuteronomy. You know what I'm saying? These are the curses that we were to suffer, you know what I'm saying, for not following the Lord's law, statutes, and commandments. But this is what they did. This is what they did. And this is the promise. This is the deal that he struck in Spain. So he came over here with that intention. All right. I'm going to try to move through this. All right. Columbus might indeed have had noble intentions when he sailed west. All right. Which I think that was a lie. But his agreement with Spain suggests his intentions were far from selfless. OK, there's no way that his intentions could have been good if he left the land. If he left Spain already striking a deal that he can own and control whatever he discovered, and then he pops up on America, and then there's indigenous people on the land and he discovers it. That's not a coincidence. His intentions were diabolical from the jump. All right, let's keep going. He enslaved and mutilated indigenous peoples. All right. Now, this is the obvious fact that blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans joke about. And that's the thing. We become so desensitized to the mass unaliving and enslavement of blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans that we'll joke about it. Like, we'll joke about it to our oppressor's face. And you know what's crazy about it? Our oppressors will laugh at our jokes. You know what I'm saying? We'll call them, you know what I'm saying, all these slurs, you know what I'm saying? I'm trying to be careful with my words, but we know what we call them, you know what I'm saying, peckerwood, all that, you know what I'm saying, all that little goofy stuff that we like to call them, thinking that we making a stand, you know what I mean? And it's, you know what I'm saying, it's a layer of bravery in captivity, you know what I'm saying? But, you know what I'm saying, the fact that you can you can laugh in your oppressor's face and like, hey, you know what I'm saying, you had us in slavery, ha 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 ha. You should feel bad, ha 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 ha. And then they can sit at the comedy show and laugh at that, like, ha ha, yeah, you right. We did have you in slavery, ha ha. We should feel bad, white guilt, blah blah blah. The fact that they can do that is a testament of how enslaved we are as a people. Because you know what I'm saying, you go to the, you know what I'm saying, you go to the comedy show and you laugh and all of that, or you hear it in, you know what I'm saying, amongst your peer groups and all of that, and then they laugh and then they go home to their well-off lives. They set for generations. Meanwhile, you go back to wherever you came from, you know what I mean, and you got to eat syrup sandwiches and you got to figure out how you going to scrape together to celebrate their holiday of how they slaughtered you, which you was just joking about. So it's just you got to understand how deep this goes, man. You got to understand how deep this goes. And to be honest, it's really hard to even, you know what I'm saying, it's really tedious even going into this history. You know what I'm saying? I damn near wasn't even going to do it, but it's so necessary because this is your last chance, Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. This may be very well your last chance to come out of your oppressors' cultures, man. Stop celebrating these things. This may be your last chance to stop celebrating Thanksgiving. What is this, Tuesday? So that means Thanksgiving is in 2 days. So this may be your last outcry from the Lord to separate from your oppressors' feast days and not celebrate your oppressors' feast days. Let's get Amos chapter 5 real quick while we on the topic. Salakia. But this might be very well your last opportunity to separate from your oppressors' feast days, which the Most High hates, man. Because World War III we're on a cusp of World War III, and it's only getting more intense. Like, there's not any going back. You know what I'm saying? Your oppressor in America, the so-called American, you know what I'm saying, the U.S. government is already sending and funding, you know what I'm saying, wars overseas. And as we always talk about, you know what I'm saying, that's not going to, like, once those wars are already popping off overseas. You know what I'm saying? Your oppressor in America, you know what I'm saying, the so-called American government is not exempt from those wars, no matter who win, lose, or draw. You know what I'm saying? Your oppressor in America is not exempt from those wars. And there's going to be a response. You know what I'm saying? Russia is a very strong superpower. And all the money that the U.S. government sent to Ukraine, Russia is not going to take that lying down as, you know what I'm saying, I'll let bygones be bygones like we do in America. You know what I'm saying? Because Russians are free. Russians are not slaves like Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. So when your oppressor, you know what I'm saying, when your oppressor commits an atrocity such as that, you know what I'm saying, to a free man, they're not going to sing and dance and shuck and jive and get on a stage and make a joke about it. Or they're not going to get in front of their peer group of their oppressor and make jokes thinking that they're being bold. You know what I'm saying? They're not gonna march in the streets with picket signs. They're not gonna do that. They're gonna retaliate. They're gonna retaliate. And so what I'm saying is World War III is right around the corner. So this may very well be your last chance to separate from your oppressor. You know what I'm saying? To separate from your oppressor's feast days and their holidays. This is the book of Amos, chapter 5, verse 21. Actually, you know what I'm saying, let's hold that. You know what I'm saying, if you're watching at home, go ahead, you know what I'm saying, keep that in mind because we're going to go to that in just a second. But let's get the rest of this article. All right. So it says, he enslaved and mutilated indigenous peoples. And when Columbus first set foot on Hispaniola, which is now Haiti and the Dominican Republic, he encountered a population of indigenous peoples called the Taino. So the Taino are what we call the so-called Puerto Ricans today, right? A friendly group, they willingly traded jewelry, animals, and supplies with the sailors. So when they saw, when we saw our oppressor coming over, to these various islands, and I know we talking about this, talking about Haiti and the Dominican Republic, but what you got to remember is, like we talked about earlier, what you got to remember is this happened all over the, the West where we had migrated, all over, the Virgin Islands, the Caribbeans, all over, all these other, the South America, North Central and South America where we were inhabiting. I mean, this happened all over because of the deal that was brokered by Columbus, and various other Europeans. So this started a domino effect of Europeans coming over trying to claim, claim us as, claim our land and us as their reward through conquering. Well, he encountered a population of indigenous people called the Taino, a friendly group. They willingly traded jewelry, animals, and supplies with the sailors. They were very well built with very handsome bodies. And this is what these quotes are coming directly out of Christopher Columbus's journal. As he was, exploring and observing, he was taking notes as any explorer does, right? Columbus wrote in his diary, as I just broke down, they do not carry arms or know them, right? And he goes on to say, this ellipsis right here, these three dots, is to say that, there was more said, but for time's sake, to make their point, they cut out a lot. But in between there, it said they do not carry arms or know them. In his journal or in his diary, he said they don't carry arms, they don't know them, They grabbed their swords and ignorantly cut themselves on a sharp blade, not understanding that it was sharp. They were very kind and, welcoming to the Europeans. That's where you get to they should be good servants because we were so kind to them. Not only were we so kind to them, but we were so ignorant to, the level of the type of warfare that they came with, their swords and their armor and all of that. We're so ignorant to that, yet so kind to them. We would make perfect slaves in the mind of Columbus. So that's how you know that garbage they was talking about earlier, that he may have had some good intentions. Man, he ain't had no good intentions. Because he came over looking for servants, and this is your proof. They were good servants. They should be good servants. That's the proof right there. And then here you go. The indigenous peoples were soon forced into slavery and punished with the loss of a limb or death if they didn't collect enough gold. So this is slavery. Between the Europeans' brutal treatment and their infectious diseases, within decades, the Taino population was decimated. This happened all over, places that we were inhabiting as blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. Whatever land that we were in, we were the indigenous. And they came over with their brutal treatment and their infectious diseases. They came over with blankets with smallpox and, diseases from Europe. And decimated us, man. That's what happened, man. That's what happened, right? And like I said, that started a domino effect. So let's get the next article, right? This is what we got to understand. We got to understand how evil this really is. Let's go ahead and get before we get that next article, we're going to read Amos chapter 5 verse 21. It says, I despise your feast days, and I will not smell in your solemn assemblies. This is the Lord talking to blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans in that time, saying that he hates your feast days, man. See, your Christian pastor, will tell you that this ain't got nothing to do with Thanksgiving or Christmas and all of that. But, what you got to understand is the Lord is talking to us as a people, blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, the 12 lost tribes of Israel. And he's saying, I hate your feast days. So how could this not be talking about Thanksgiving or Christmas or, fill in the blank? How could this not be talking about the feast days that we choose to keep, because we don't keep the Most High's feast days and his assemblies and his convocations that he told us to keep. We don't keep those, but we do keep Thanksgiving like clockwork. We do keep Thanksgiving. We do count down for Santa. You know what I'm saying? We do count down the days until Thanksgiving that we could carve up that turkey. We do plan and prepare ahead of time for every holiday. You know what I'm saying? You in Walmart and Kroger or whatever grocery store you got, Target, you all up in there, you know what I'm saying, buying costumes for your kids all early, you know what I'm saying, making sure they all ready. You prepared weeks in advance. You prepared 4th of July. You buying fireworks and all of that. You prepared. You know what I'm saying? You getting your New Year's Day outfit together, your Easter outfit together. You prepared. But you don't have the same respect for the Most High's feast days and holidays. And that's the same sentiment that the Most High, that's the same thing that the Most High is talking about right now. Because if you read further down, it talks about, let's read verse 26. For ye have borne the tabernacles of your Molech, and Chian your images, the star of your God, which made yourselves. See, this is a scripture, I don't want to sidebar too much, but this is a scripture where your Christian church misinterprets that this is so-called the star of Molech. But a star is a chief representation of something. So when it says you have borne a tabernacle of your Molech is a false idol that we had taken up. That's what happened. Just like Christmas, just like Santa Claus, just like Christopher Columbus, just like Thanksgiving, just like Halloween, and you name it. You know what I'm saying? Molech is a false idol, or a false idol, right? And Chian is the image of that false idol. Just like Christ is, white Jesus to the Christian church is a image of Christianity, right? That we have taken up today. The star of your God. Again, star means chief representation. So Chian in this time is the chief representation of Molech, a false idol that we had taken up at that time. So when the Most High says, I despise your feast days, and I will not smell of your solemn assemblies, he's talking about us having these feast days to this garbage, just like we having a feast day on this coming Thursday. I pray that my brothers and sisters, you know what I'm saying, heed this final warning and not do that thing. But I know a lot of us will. I know a lot of my brothers and sisters will. But this is what he was talking about when he says, I despise your feast days. Thanksgiving is your feast day. When you know that it belongs to your oppressor, but you make it your own. When you say, oh, it's for the children. That's why I celebrate Halloween. That's why I send my child to strangers' houses to get candy. You make it your own. And that's what the Most High hates. He hates your feast days. That's what the scripture says. He hates your Christmas. You know what I'm saying? You take your oppressor's holiday and make it your own. He hates your feast days. He hates your Thanksgiving. No matter how you celebrate it. He hates your 4th of July. No matter how you know the history behind it, but you just do it because it's a day off. He hates that. He hates your feast days. You've taken something so wicked and made it your own, man. And that's why we've always end up in this condition. Because we take something that belongs to our oppressor. We take the oppression that your oppressor, you know what I'm saying, puts on us, and we become as them. We take on their culture and their identity when we're supposed to be an influence to them. You know what I'm saying? Deuteronomy says that, you know what I'm saying, we supposed to keep these laws, statutes, and commandments so that these other nations look at us as such a wise and understanding people. That's what was supposed to happen. But we went on and took on their culture and identity. And that's why they don't consider us wise. Because they supposed to look at us wise because we keep these commandments, because we keep our feast days. And that's another thing. It don't make no sense for us to follow our oppressor's feast days because the Most High gave us feast days. He gave us feast days already. We supposed to keep the Feast of Purim, the Feast of Tabernacles, the Feast of First Fruits, the Passover, Hanukkah, the Feast of Dedication. You know what I'm saying? We supposed to keep all those things. We supposed to gather together and, you know what I'm saying, have feast days of our own under the Most High's instruction. But we choose to take our oppressors' feast days and make them our own, man. So it don't even make sense for us to even be doing that. But that's why these other nations don't respect us. You wonder why, you know what I'm saying, we so fast and we so strong. We the most dominant in every athletic competition, the Olympics, basketball, football, college sports, high school, elementary level sports. We dominated. You know what I'm saying? We dominate in education and academics on every level. We wonder why we can do all of that, where our sisters is graduating at exponential rates and we the strongest in the workforce. And we even in prison, we go to prison and suffer, you know what I'm saying, whatever you experience in prison, and then come out, we scholars. And we become entrepreneurs. We wonder how we can do that. We can be that despite all the captivity that we've suffered under here and still be on the bottom. It's because we don't follow these laws, statutes, and commandments, man. We don't follow these laws, statutes, and commandments. And the Most High said if we keep these laws, statutes, and commandments, these other nations will look at you as such a wise and understanding people. But because we don't keep these laws, statutes, and commandments, we don't keep these feast days, but we attach ourselves to them, then they don't look at us as wise. They don't give a damn about how fast we run, how strong we are, how high we can jump, how young we can graduate from college. Every time I look on the internet, I see a young brother or sister, the first black such and such, to graduate, you know what I'm saying, to become to graduate college at such and such an age. And every time I see that age, it's going down and down. It's like this young brother then graduated college at 18, you know what I'm saying, with his master's and this, that, and the third. And then a couple years later, 17, 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9. You got 9-year-olds graduating college. You know what I'm saying? 9-year-old black Hispanics and Native Americans graduating college with high-level degrees, masters, doctorates, and all of that. Yet we still don't get no respect in this country. Why do you think that is? Because what the Most High said in these scriptures. Let's get Deuteronomy. Let's go ahead and get to it. But this is the reason. This is what the Most High put. The Most High put these records in, like I paraphrased before. The Most High gave us these records so that we have wisdom and understanding in the sight of these other nations, man. But the reason why we don't have wisdom and understanding or respect in any capacity with these other nations, because we, instead of following our laws, statutes, and commandments, instead of us following our laws, statutes, and commandments, we follow their culture and we attach ourselves to them. You know what I mean? Salakia, 1 second. Let's get it real quick. Bear with me 1 second. All right, we in Deuteronomy chapter 4, verse 6, or verse 5. Behold, I have taught you statutes and judgments, even as the Lord my God commanded me, that you should go, Shalakia, that you should do so in the land, whether you go to possess it. Verse 6, keep therefore and do them, for this is your wisdom and your understanding in the sight of the nations, which shall hear all these statutes and say, surely this great nation is a wise and understanding people. See, this is what was supposed to happen for blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. But we, instead of just following these laws, statutes, and commandments and being looked at as a wise and understanding people, we chose Thanksgiving. And a lot of our brothers and sisters, sadly, are going to choose Thanksgiving in 2 days. And I pray, you know what I'm saying, I pray that I'm wrong. I pray that brothers and sisters will hear the sound of my voice today, hear the warning of all the brothers in the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge, giving you this warning under the authority of the Most High to tell you not to celebrate these holidays, not to, you know what I'm saying, celebrate Thanksgiving. I pray that you listen for the sake of your soul, man. Because otherwise, if you're going to follow these, you know what I'm saying, the culture of your oppressor, then you're doomed to the same punishment and destruction of your oppressor. Because, I mean, you think that you doing it. You think that you taking this diabolical holiday and putting your Christian remix on it. Whole time, the Lord looking at you, like Saran brought out yesterday, the Lord looking at you like the nation of people that you take after. So you an American, you know what I'm saying, you acting like an American, and you saying it's just for the family, and you trying to put your Christian remix on American culture. You know what I'm saying? The Lord ain't looking at you like his child, like his people. He's looking at you like an American. And because of that, you're going to receive the same punishment as the Americans. The scriptures say, you know what I'm saying, those found with them will be thrust through. You know what I'm saying? Talking about your oppressor, meaning if you're found wearing the culture of any of your oppressors, you know what I'm saying, not even just the European culture, but the so-called African, the so-called Arab, you know what I'm saying, you Muslims out there, the so-called, you know what I'm saying, Buddhist and Hindu, you know what I'm saying, East Indian and Asian culture, you know what I'm saying, you're caught with that culture, you know what I'm saying, with the dreadlocks and all of that, because that's not of the Lord either, you know what I'm saying. You caught with that culture, the Lord is looking at you as that nation, and you're gonna receive that judgment. So for the sake of brotherhood, Baba Kasha, please, let's not do this year. Let's not celebrate Thanksgiving this year. You know what I mean? I know you just came from the store, you know what I'm saying? I spent all day in the store today, and I saw how packed and crazy it was up in there. I know you did all that preparation, getting all that turkey and all that, them yams and all of that, you know what I'm saying, in preparation for Thanksgiving. But, you know what I'm saying, put it in your deep freezer, man. Put it in your freezer and save it for another day, man. Save it for when you know what I'm saying, them food stamps run out and you ain't got no food left, so that you can have a nice meal with your family. Save it for, you know what I mean, you know what I'm saying, save it, man. But this year on Thanksgiving, man, let's separate from our oppressors' holidays, man. Let's go ahead and separate, man. Let's see. Salakia, bear with me 1 second. All right, we're going to read this article right quick. I'm going to get this article real quick. This is the true story. This is an article written by Susan Bates, right? The true history of Thanksgiving. Let me get with you here in just a second. Salakia. Bear with me. All right. So it says, most of us associate the holiday with happy pilgrims and Indians sitting down to a big feast. And that did happen once. All right. So that did happen once, meaning there was a Thanksgiving, you know what I'm saying, that was established. Right. And we're going to get to that later. But the Thanksgiving that you know know what I'm saying, came to adopt and celebrate, that's not the true origin. We're going to get into it. The story began in 1614 when a band of English explorers sailed home to English with a ship full of Patuxent Indians bound for slavery. So this is how Native American, or this is how Thanksgiving started. We talked about in 1492 where Columbus brokered a deal with the Europeans that whatever land that he discovered, so-called, was his to dominate and have control over, and he got 10% of whatever riches came from that, right? And that sparked the uproar, or not an uproar, but that sparked the domino effect in Europe, where these Europeans and all these nations, or these Europeans came over and started discovering nations. You know what I'm saying? So that means northeast or north, south, central and South America. You know what I'm saying? The Caribbean islands, you know what I'm saying, Haiti. You know what I mean? All of those different things, you name it, that have blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans on it. All right, they start discovering those things and start getting dominion over it. That's why you got, you know what I'm saying, you got Europeans dominate. You got, you know what I'm saying, you got the Haitians who speak, or you got the Caribbeans who speak patois. You know what I'm saying? You got the Haitians who speak French. You know what I'm saying? You got, you know what I'm saying, people who speak Creole. You got people who speak Spanish. You know what I'm saying? Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans who speak Spanish. That's why we speak English, because all these various nations from Europe came to conquer or to get their spoils, so to speak, and to get dominion because of what happened with Christopher Columbus. And they wanted a piece of that. All right. So fast forward to 1614, this was already, you know what I'm saying, this was already common where, you know what I'm saying, these heathen nations were shipping us back and forth between, you know what I'm saying, between countries, between strange lands and all of that to be slaves. All right. So by this time, we were already being shipped over and as cargo for slavery. They left behind smallpox, which virtually wiped out those who had escaped. So this is the diseases that we was talking about, what we was reading in the last article we just read. Their strange diseases and their brutality. You know what I mean? They left behind smallpox. They were wiping us out, and they were taking the women and children to, you know what I'm saying, raise them up to be slaves. Right? By the time the Pilgrims arrived in Massachusetts Bay, they found only one living Patuxent Indian, a man named Squanto, who had survived slavery in England, which is important. He survived slavery in England and knew their language. So how did he survive slavery in England? Well, I just told you about that. They were, you know what I'm saying, in 1492, Christopher Columbus kicked it off. You know what I mean? As far as we know it, as far as history, you know what I'm saying, as far as their teachers in history, you know what I mean? Christopher Columbus came over, kicked it off, and was promised a reward for conquering such and such amount of land. Him, you know what I'm saying, starting in the islands of Hispaniola, right? But, you know what I mean, this led to Europeans coming over, taking our people and shipping them back and forth. So this Patuxent Indian, Squanto, you know what I mean, which is interestingly enough, you know what I'm saying, one of the Slovakia. But interestingly enough, you know what I'm saying, this is the only Native American that your oppressor allows you to learn about. Well, this is not the only one, but it's a very famous Native American that you was allowed to learn about as a child, Squanto, who had survived slavery in England and knew their language. He was already a slave, man, and he had grew up in England as a child, as he was taken from America, as they call it today, and taken over to England to be a slave. And now we're going to see why that's so important. He taught them to grow corn and to fish and negotiated a peace treaty between the Pilgrims and the Wampanoag Nation. At the end of their first year, the Pilgrims had held a great feast honoring Squanto and the Wampanoags. So, Squanto, because he had grown up in captivity in England and was brought over and left in the indigenous land, he was able to broker a deal between the Native Americans and the Europeans, which ended up leaning in your oppressor's favor. Right? So what you gotta and this should sound familiar too, because when has making a deal with your oppressor ever, you know what I'm saying, became, you know what I'm saying, has it ever been fruitful for blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans? When has that ever worked out? When did that ever worked out? Matter of fact, Slovakia. But you got to think about that, black, Hispanic, and Native American, man. Like, your oppressor has made how many treaties with the Native Americans? Has made how many promises to the so-called blacks and Hispanics, you know what I'm saying, in this country? You know what I'm saying? 40 acres and a mule. You know what I'm saying? They promised us that a long time ago. They promised us reparations a long time ago. And when did we ever get that? Yet they sending billions of dollars to Ukraine and Israel, you know what I'm saying, to fund a war that has nothing to do with us as far as we understand it. But this is the book of First Ezra, chapter 8, verse 85. Or start at verse 84. Therefore now shall ye not join your daughters unto their sons, neither shall ye take their daughters unto your sons. So we're not supposed to make interracial marriages with them, man. We're not supposed to join ourselves to them in any way, especially when it comes to making marriages, man. Verse 85, moreover, ye shall never seek to have peace with them, that ye may be strong and eat the good things of the land, that ye may leave the inheritance of the land unto your children forevermore. This is so heavy, man, because this is exactly what we did, you know what I'm saying, in 1492 with Columbus. This is exactly what happened here in 1614 that we just read, that Squanto, a Patuxent Indian, brokered a deal between the English, who was his slave master since youth, and the Wampanoag, which was another tribe of Native Americans, right? And he brokered a deal between them. The Most High said, moreover, ye shall never seek to have peace with them, that ye may be strong. This is so heavy because who's strong in this country today? Your oppressor is strong, man. And it's because we brokered a deal with them, man, that they broke, that the Most High told us not to make. And eat the good things of the land. See, we're supposed to eat the good things of the land. What we eating? You know what I'm saying? We eating trash, man. They sold us, you know what I'm saying? I'm sure somebody in the next couple of days is going to be making them funky chitlins and hog maws and pig feet and ham hocks and all of that. I'm sure it's going to happen, man. And chicken beaks and chicken head and all of that and chicken feet. I'm sure it's all going down. And you know what I'm saying? You're going to pray over it and enjoy it, man. But the reason why we're not supposed to make any deals or any covenant with them is so that we can be strong and we can eat the good things of the land, man. Reading on, and that ye may leave the inheritance of the land unto your children forevermore. The inheritance of the land was supposed to go to your children for generations to come and forever. It was supposed to never go to your oppressor. But who's leaving inheritance? Who's leaving land to their children? Who's leaving cars and weapons and businesses and houses and all these different things and money, and currency and slaves and property to their children? It's not us. It's the people who we brokered a deal with, who we were never supposed to make a deal with, man. And that's the reason why you feel the need to celebrate Thanksgiving today, because you're a slave today. And it's because we made this deal with them, man. The Lord said, never trust thine enemy and choose none of his ways, man. But that was what was supposed to happen, man. That was what's supposed to happen. The Lord told us never to make a deal with them so that we can leave all these things to our people. But because we continue to try to make amends and deals, we still to this day try to make deals and amends with them by trying to vote in their court system, by trying to go to their Christian church and believe what they believe, try to say, try to make marriages with them, try to well, Christ ain't got no color, God ain't got no color, or you can learn, all religions are the same. You're trying to broker a deal yet again with your oppressor, trying to convince him and us that we're the same. That's what the Christian church does. They're the middleman. They're the mediator for the deal between the government and the slaves. They're the mediators. That's why that's why they're, they say that there's supposed to be a separation between church and state, meaning that you're not supposed to get involved, with politics or, religion and politics, but it's very involved. That's why you got, every year, who's telling you to vote? Every voting period, who's telling you to vote? Your Christian pastor. Big mama in the Christian church with the big hat. She telling you to vote. They going out in the streets and setting up booths and tables and, going out and campaigning for some presidential candidate or some government official that don't plan on doing nothing for your city or your neighborhood or your state or the country that you live in. But it's the Christian church that's brokering that deal, man. Well, what we got to understand is these things is what the Most High told us to never do, or we would be under these nations of people like we are today. I pray my brothers understand, man. Reading on with this article, says he taught them to grow corn and to fish, negotiated a peace treaty between the Pilgrims and the Wampanoag Nation. At the end of their first year, the Pilgrims had held a great feast honoring Squanto and the Wampanoags. Right? So they held a feast, right? They held a feast. And this is what you're taught about. This is what you're taught about, because they held a feast after that initial deal that was brokered, right? Right? In their ignorance. Well, let's read on. But as the word spread in England about the paradise to be found in the New World, see, this is what I was telling you about Christopher Columbus. See, he came over and he was promised all these riches and all of that, this, that, and the third, riches and property and power and authority. And then the word started to spread in Europe about what could happen if you had the what they call courage to come over and take your peace. You know what I'm saying? What you would be promised. Let's read on. Religious zealots called Puritans began arriving by the boatload. Finding no fences around the land, they considered it to be in the public domain. Meaning, you know what I'm saying? Our nation, the people, you know what I mean? The Lord intended for us to rule over the world, man. And we were all one family, blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. I mean, we were one family. So we didn't have borders and fences, you know what I mean, around our, you know what I'm saying, around our territory, because we're not like our oppressor where, you know what I mean, even though there's the same oppressor that lives in New York is the same oppressor that lives in New Jersey, the same oppressor that lives in Pennsylvania. But, you know what I'm saying, they got three separate laws, three separate sets of laws, three separate, you know what I mean, you know what I'm saying, they're separated. You know what I'm saying? All these different states are separated. You know what I'm saying? The same oppressor that's in Europe is the same oppressor that migrated from Europe to come over here and steal this land, but they're separated. They're, you know what I'm saying? The same Russians that are over there are the same, you know what I'm saying, Russians over here. You know what I'm saying? You got all these, you know what I mean? You got these things where your oppressor is fighting amongst one another. We weren't like that, man. We migrated between one another. You know what I'm saying? We moved freely between one another's territories. We moved freely amongst one another. So we didn't have borders, but they saw that we were fluid amongst one another as far as travel. And they thought that our land was just up for grabs. Joined by other British settlers, they seized land, capturing strong young natives for slaves and killing the rest. But the Pequot Nation had not agreed to a peace treaty Squanto had negotiated, and they fought back. The Pequot War was one of the bloodiest Indian wars ever fought. See, and what they did was they divided us because, again, you know what I'm saying, your oppressor is divided. They divided against one another, and that's just how they are. And they divided us because we were different tribes. You know what I'm saying? We had different territories. We had different plots of land. You know what I mean? Different inheritance. Even though we traded with one another and migrated between one another, you know what I'm saying? We had our different lands and areas that they could conquer, right? They took that, you know what I'm saying? And they divided us by tribe. You know what I'm saying? So the treaty that they made with the Pequot wasn't the same as they made with the Wampanoag. The treaty that they made with the Wampanoag wasn't the same that they made with the Taino. The same wasn't, you know what I'm saying, so on and so forth. So they made a deal with the Wampanoag, but the Pequot didn't make that deal. So they fought back. And because they fought back, anybody that fought back from the you know what I mean, from the attempted genocide, they were, or from the attempted conquering, they were destroyed. Let's see. All right, we're gonna get a little bit more of this. You know what I mean? It says in 1637, near present day, Groton, Connecticut, over 700 men, women, and children of the Pequot tribe are gathered for their annual Green Corn Festival, which is our Thanksgiving celebration. So the Thanksgiving celebration was patterned after the Green Corn Festival. So when brothers, and you know what I'm saying, every year, because, you know what I'm saying, this is before refrigeration, you know what I'm saying, before slack you. You know what I'm saying? Before you could just, you know what I'm saying, go to the grocery store and, you know what I'm saying, go to, you know what I'm saying, the frozen food out and get you some frozen chicken or frozen this, that, and the third. This is how we gathered our, you know what I'm saying, our you know what I'm saying, our harvest. You know what I'm saying? We would grow things, and the things that would last us through the winter, or, you know what I mean, that would fill us up throughout the winter, things like that, like your starchy vegetables like potatoes, you know what I mean, you got your potatoes, your squash, your, you know what I mean, things like that, corn and all of that. We would gather together, and we had a feast every year, the Green Corn Festival, which if I'm not mistaken, I would have to look into it, but I'm pretty sure that's similar to our one of our feast days. If I'm not mistaken, the Passover, but I could be mistaken. But we kept the corn. We kept the festival, or we had a feast day or a feast every year that we kept regularly, right? So during this time, you know what I mean. Well, let's read on. So we gathered for this feast, right? In the pre-dawn hours, the sleeping Indians were surrounded by English and Dutch mercenaries who ordered them to come outside. Those who came out were shot or clubbed to death, while the terrified women and children who huddled inside the longhouse were burned alive. Right? So this is what happened, you know what I mean? While we were having our feast day, while we were disarmed, while we had our guard down, they took that as an opportunity to come in and slaughter the so-called Native Americans, the men, the men who came to fight, you know what I'm saying, that came out to fight. They slaughtered them in the streets. And then the women and children who were huddled inside, they were burned alive. That's what your oppressor did. And this is what makes it so terrible for our people. Let's read on. The next day, the governor of Massachusetts Bay Colony declared a day of Thanksgiving because 700 unarmed men, because we were unarmed, because we were having a feast day. Unarmed men, women, and children had been unalived. So that's your first Thanksgiving. So after they took our land, took our, you know what I'm saying, ambushed our people and unalived us unarmed, they called the next day a day of Thanksgiving. And that's what we keep every year as Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. That's what we do every year. And it's just so disgusting. It's just so disgusting, and this is what we've come to, man. This is what we've come to, man, as Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. It's a lock you. Let's get Jeremiah chapter 2, verse 14. And this is us. This is us right now. And this is what you got to understand about yourself, Black man, Hispanic man, Native American man. It's a lock you. This is what you got to understand about yourself, Black man, Hispanic man, and Native American man. That we have been in this captivity for so long. We have been under the captivity of all these oppressors, the chief oppressor being the so-called Edomite, the so-called white man. We have been in oppression in America for so long that this oppression is just coming out of our pores, where we just singing and dancing and shucking and jiving, and we making excuses for why our oppression doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, you know what I mean? It doesn't matter that we were slaughtered. It doesn't matter that we were mass unalived and that we now celebrate the mass unaliving of blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans every year. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. And this is why. The book of Jeremiah, chapter 2, verse 14. Is Israel a servant? Is he a homeborn slave? Why is he spoiled? See, this is us. This is us, black man, Hispanic man, Native American man. Because just like Squanto, man, like he didn't, you know what I'm saying? He had seen where in 1492, you know what I mean, Christopher Columbus had did what he did to, you know what I'm saying, destroy, to set off the what's the word? The domino effect of Europeans coming over and claiming land and destroying the people who was already living there. And that had gone on for over 200 years. And then now you got Squanto, who grew up in England as a slave and then came over to where his people were, finding his people gone and destroyed, and brokered a deal between England or the Europeans and the Native Americans. He was a homeborn slave, meaning a homeborn slave is a slave who grew up in captivity. You know what I'm saying? A homeborn slave, if you grew up in captivity, all you know is captivity. You don't have the same fight that the Pequot had, where they tried to broker that deal with them, and they was like, nah, we not going for that. And they fought back till the end of their lives, to the bloody end of their lives. That's the type of fight that, you know what I'm saying, somebody who's not a slave, who's willing to lose their life for the sake of the generation to come after. But Squanto was a homeborn slave, so he brokered that deal. And that's who we are. We're homeborn slaves in this country. You know what I mean? And we, instead of, you know what I'm saying, we don't have no fight in us anymore. To where now, instead of separating, we can't even put down turkey. We can't even put down the ham hock on Thursday, on the third Thursday of November. We can't even put down the turkey leg. That's how much of a homeborn slave we are. We done spent so much time in this captivity that it doesn't matter how our oppressor, you know what I'm saying, got this land, how we ended up in this condition in the first place. It doesn't matter. It's just for us. It's for the children. It doesn't matter that might be, I don't know that person. That's a stranger. And that might be some sort of predator. I'm going to walk my child over there in some costume, dressed as some damn fairy, and have him knock on that door in some tight suit. Give me a break, man. Because we're homeborn slaves, man. Let's drop down to verse 33. The book of Jeremiah, chapter 2, verse 33. Why trimmest thou thy ways to seek love? Therefore hast thou also taught the wicked ones thy ways. So this is exactly what we did, man. This is exactly what we did, man. Because we, you know what I'm saying, during that time, we taught them our ways, man. But the Most High told us from the beginning that we should never trust our enemy. And this is how you know that we had lost our way. And this is why we ended up in this condition. Because we separated from these laws, statutes, and commandments. Because the Most High told us that we should never trust our enemy and choose none of his ways, man. We should never make marriages with them or trust them or make a covenant with them or, you know what I mean, befriend them. That's what he told us. So if we had held dear to our culture back then in 1492, we would have did just that. And we would have separated from them. We would have stayed separate from them. And we would have made no covenant with them, and the Lord would have been with us. But we had lost our way. And that's how we ended up here, man. Read it again. Why trimmest thou thy way to seek love? Therefore hast thou also taught the wicked ones thy way. We trim our ways to seek love. So the reason why we're gonna eat that turkey on Thanksgiving, knowing damn well what happened on that day, is because we seeking love. The reason why we're gonna count down the days till Santa, gigantic overweight behind shimmy down your chimney that you don't have, and you're gonna teach your children that, is because we trimming our ways to seek love. That's why we doing this, man. Let's not trim our ways no more, man. Let's put on our culture. Let's put our spine back in, man, and stand up strong as Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, man. You ain't got to take up no arms. You ain't got to get your guns, because I know you got them. I know we got them, black man. You know what I'm saying? And you ain't wrong for having them, man. You should arm yourself. But that ain't how we going to win this fight, man. We going to win this fight with obedience, man, and not trimming our ways. So if you pick up that turkey on Thursday, you're going to trim your ways, man. You're going to see that you're going to see, you know what I'm saying? You're going to perpetuate the same culture that got us in this situation in the first place by gathering together on Thanksgiving and feeling like it's a necessity, regardless of whether you celebrate and you call it Thanksgiving or whether you say that it's just a day with family. If you know what I'm saying, you gathering on that day, you know what I mean? You're trimming your ways. You are. And I pray my brothers understand, man. With that, let me see if there's any questions or comments in the chat. All right. No sweat. With that, you know what I'm saying? Make sure you like and share the class. You know what I mean? If you're not in the ISUPK, you know what I mean? Go ahead and find the nearest school in your zone, man, in your city. And, you know what I mean, figure out who's the leader of that school in your city. Get in contact with that brother. And, you know what I'm saying, get in all black. Learn, you know what I'm saying, see what this is all about. Try us. Vet us. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? We don't encourage anybody to just join anything blind. But this is the home of the truth. And if you try this out and you vet us and you see what's going down, then you're going to see that this is very much the home of the truth, man. You know what I'm saying? Also, you know what I mean? We got that, you know what I'm saying? Come if you're in the Houston, Texas area, you know what I'm saying? This weekend, we got the annual Houston cookout. You know what I mean? We do every year, you know what I mean? In every various zones, you know what I mean? All throughout the summer, you know what I'm saying? All throughout the summer leading up to the Passover. All right. So, you know what I'm saying? If you're in Houston from the 20, what is it? The 20, starting on the 24th to the 27th, you know what I mean? Come down to Houston, Texas, man. Come to the cookout, man. Come to the cookout and see what real brotherhood and sisterhood is like, man. We ain't, you know what I'm saying? We ain't celebrating no damn Thanksgiving, man. We ain't celebrating no Halloween, no Christmas, no none of that, man. What we gonna do is get together because we love one another. We gonna get together and love one another on any day. It don't matter what it is, man, because we're free men in here. Commanding General Yohana in the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge has raised up free men in the midst of this hell, man. And that's how we going to get up out of this hell, by coming back to these laws, statutes, and commandments and becoming free, man. Becoming free and separating from our oppressor's culture. With that, I'm going to say Ahmadium, which means to stand. I'm going to give a courtesy salute to the brothers. Individual Major Shabbat, Ahmadium, Barak, Yahweh Shimi Al Shabrakatum, Yajimata, Nosar, turn and face the sisters. We'll give a courtesy salute to the sisters. Individual Major Shabbat, Ahmadium, Barak, Yahweh Shamar Latham Ba Shimi Al Shah, Yajimata, dismiss.